Hello, my dear friends. You're in the Military with Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 2nd of December of 2025. Today we have a lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. So today is the 2nd of December, and today probably the most important meeting of 2025 is going to take place. Right now in front of your screens, according to information we have, we can see the convoy of Steve Witkoff and Kushner, the special representatives of the United States of America. Currently, they're heading towards Kremlin to Moscow with the purpose to have meetings with different, let's say, Russia's authorities. According to information we have, the special envoy Witkoff had already a meeting with Dmitry, the special representative of Putin. The sources are saying that a meeting between Putin and Steve Witkoff will start after 5 p.m. in the Kremlin. The meeting is not time limited, Dmitry Peskov announced. Before that, the president will participate in plenary session of the Russia Calling Forum. So as of the moment when I started making this video, we still haven't received anything regarding results of these talks, whether the talks were successful or not. We don't know for sure, but obviously this is going to be a very long meeting, and most likely the special representative of the United States of America will try to convince Vladimir Putin to accept the US proposal. Furthermore, today we got additional reports that according to information we have, the United States of America stopped supplying and sending weapons for Ukraine for a known period of time. Right before this meeting between Putin and Witkoff, Witkoff had a meeting on the territory of Ireland with Zelensky. Zelensky said to meet with Witkoff and Umerov in Ireland. As of the end of the 2nd of December of 2025, we don't know for sure whether this meeting took place or not, and whether this meeting brought any results both for Ukrainian or American part, but this is the detail that we got during the previous 24 hours. Furthermore, and right before this possible meeting, Zelensky had a meeting with the president of France, Macron, and that meeting was very interesting. For example, during that meeting, the president of France, Macron, made lots of very important statements. First of all, he said that in the coming weeks, the pressure on the Russian economy and Russia's ability to finance military spending will change radically. So what was he talking about? Probably very difficult to understand, but if you ask my opinion, I believe that the president of France, Macron, first of all, was talking about the Russian Shadow Fleet. For example, today we got another report that another Russian tanker vessel was attacked in the international waters. According to the Turkish Ministry of Transport, the attack occurred approximately 80 miles off the Turkish coast, while the vessel carrying out sunflower oil was en route from Russia to Georgia. So another ship was attacked, and I would like to remind you that this is the fourth vessel belonged to the Russian, let's say, Shadow Fleet that was attacked by unknown side. For example, yesterday we got this video, and this video of another Russian vessel that was attacked somewhere in the area of Senegal in the western part of Africa. So this vessel also, according to different sources, belonged to the Shadow Fleet of the Russian Federation. So most likely when the president of France, Macron, was talking about these things, like in the coming weeks, the pressure on the Russian economy and Russia's ability to finance military spending will change radically, most likely he was talking about the Russian Shadow Fleet. So nobody is going to impose additional sanctions, nobody is going to arrest or to hold this fleet or vessels across the world. Most likely the Western countries, and we understand that France first of all, made a decision to attack the ships. Or this is, of course, this is a speculation. We cannot say that France has any connections or any responsibilities for those attacks, but all these things are coming all together, and it seems that all these things have the same roots. Furthermore, we got report that the president of France is going to send troops on the territory of Ukraine with the purpose to support Ukraine on the ground. At least today, this information was stated by the intelligence service of the Russian Federation. The Russians stated that France is exploring options for direct involvement in the Ukrainian conflict, according to the Foreign Intelligence Service. The agency noted French government decree 2025-1030, which authorizes the use of private military military companies to provide assistance to a third country in a situation of armed conflict. Ukraine air defense systems are enabled to intercept air targets, and mastering the Mirage and other equipment requires time and high qualifications. For these purposes, Kyiv will need foreign NPCs, private military companies equipped with modern Western, primarily French weaponry. Moscow will view the participation of French PMCs as France's direct involvement in military operations against Russia. So this is the current situation. As you can see, the situation is a very difficult one. We see that Zelensky is trying to find a way how to force the Western countries to get involved into the conflict. But today, for example, Germany stated that the upcoming days is going to be a very difficult period for Ukraine, and most likely Ukraine will have to make painful concessions to reach a peace agreement, and it may even be necessary to hold a referendum. You know that this statement is a key statement, because we expect and we think that if Russia accepts the plan of the United States of America today, we believe, or probably somebody believes, that the special military operation or the war will be finished immediately. This is not going to happen so fast. Obviously, it will be prolonged for another 6 to 10 months, because if Russia and Ukraine wants to finish the war, first of all, Ukraine should carry out presidential elections, parliamentary elections, and then legal authorities and legal power, legal representatives of Ukraine will be able to sign any peace agreement with the Russian Federation. And first of all, the most important, if there are going to be any territorial concessions in the Russian favor, Ukraine must carry out a referendum, which means that it will take months, and obviously nobody is going to stop clashes and war during this period of time. Ukraine will run elections, run referendum under the fire, under artillery strikes, which means that the Russians will always move in the western direction, which means that more ships and more vessels of the Shadow Fleet would be damaged and destroyed by the European countries. And telling the truth, who knows what is going to be the picture in 6 or 8 months after this moment, when, let's say, Russia lose every single vessel of their Shadow Fleet, or if something else happens, or if French deploy troops on the territory of Ukraine. So all these things might happen during this period, during this negotiation period, and at the end, nobody will negotiate, the negotiations will be stopped, and the war will continue. Today we got another very interesting statement and very interesting article about the situation in Ukraine. This one. So break some sources. We are not saying that they are very reliable, but today several sources stated that Ukraine is developing nuclear weapons with the help of the United Kingdom and France. So this might be just a complete speculation. So we're just trying to understand what is happening and what is being published through the day in different media. This is why the peace process takes so long. The US knows, and it is playing on time. Ukraine is on US client side. If Trump wanted peace, he would have it immediately. Russia is being played. So this the situation, but obviously if this information is correct, sooner or later we will understand this. But as of now, the Russians continue their offensive operation, their special military operation, and during the previous 24 hours, the Russians managed to improve their position significantly. So let's discuss this in details right now. And first we're going to talk about the Zaporozhye direction, where the Russians continue their offensive operation in the western and the eastern parts. During the previous 24 hours, we received video from the city of Stepnogorsk. So this is the situation by the end of the 1st of December of 2025, and this is the situation by the end of the 2nd of December. The Russians, as you can see, according to this video and according to this geolocation, managed to enter the citadel of the city of Stepnogorsk, and currently the clashes are taking place exactly on the territory of the citadel. There are very heavy clashes right now. In this video we can see how Ukrainians send drones with the purpose to attack Russians in this area, so which means that Russians have some certain control over the territory, and based on this report we adjusted the map. Furthermore, I would like to remind you that according to pro-Russian sources and according to the meeting that took place yesterday between Putin and commanders of directions, the city of Stepnogorsk was encircled by the Russians, so which means that most likely this is the exact situation in this area. Furthermore, several Ukrainian sources reported that Russians also improved their positions in the fields from the settlement of Kamenska in the northeastern direction. So we see that the Russians and the offensive operation in the western Zaporozhye direction intensifies, and Russians will continue. As for the eastern Zaporozhye direction, during the previous 24 hours, as you can see, lots of updates came exactly from this area. The Russians during the previous, probably not 24, but probably 72 hours, improved their position significantly. So this is the situation that you can see in front of your screens, is the situation by the end of the 2nd of December. During the previous day, the Russians reported that they managed to capture the settlement of Dobropolye. This report was published yesterday in the evening by the commander of the Group of Forces East. He stated that Russians answered the city of Guliai-Polye and that the Russians secured the village of Dobropolye. So, and just this morning on the 2nd of December, this video was published. And here we can see how exactly the Russians were taking under control the settlement of Dobropolye. There are very heavy clashes, and in the final part of this video we can see how Russians raised their flags through the settlement of Dobropolye, which, as you can see, was covered with the fog. So based on this video, based on the report of the Minister of Defense, and based on the report that was published by the commander of the Group of Forces East, we adjusted the map. This is the situation by the end of the 1st of December, and this is the situation by the end of the 2nd of December. Now the Russians answer the city of Varvarovka from the north, and clashes will continue now in this area. Furthermore, this morning, the pro-Russian sources published another video. This time, video was published from the area of the village of Zelený Gai. Here we can see the same story. Here we can see how Russians were fighting for the settlement. Artillery strikes, aviation strikes, drone strikes, vehicles, clearing operation, and of course, flags. Two flags in the final part of the video. So during the video we can see two places where Russians raised their flag. The first flag was raised in the most western part of the settlement, the second one on the eastern part. So based on this video, based on the report of the Minister of Defense, we adjusted this territory as well. So now we see that the Russians most likely in coming days will finish the battle for the settlement of Chermona and force Ukrainians to fall back from this area. And another important update is coming from the city of Guliai-Polye itself. Several sources stated that Russians answered the northeastern part of the settlement, and by the way, this information was also confirmed by the Chief of the General Staff and by the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, that the clashes are taking place right now on the northeastern part of the settlement. And today this video was published by pro-Ukrainian sources. We will not watch this video due to casualties and violence, and here we might see how Russians were fighting with Ukrainians along the Naberezhnaya Street and how Ukrainians were attacking Russians with drones. So we see that the clashes for Guliai-Polye are ongoing, the Russians are advancing, and we see that Ukrainians are not able to stabilize the situation at all. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Pokrovsk direction. During the previous 24 hours, the armed forces of the Russian Federation managed to capture the city of Pokrovsk completely. And we have lots of funny things with the city of Pokrovsk, and we believe that this is a very, very huge humiliation. Now let's discuss everything in details. Yesterday, during the meeting between Putin and commanders of different directions, the commander of the Group of Forces Center stated that Russians managed to secure the city of Pokrovsk completely. And this morning this video was published, and here we can see a town hall of the city of Pokrovsk, and we can see two Russian soldiers that were raising the Russian flag. So I would like to point to attention, I would like to ask you to remember this episode. We can see two Russian soldiers, and I would like to point to attention to this small construction above the head of this Russian soldier. So this is a roof, or this is something like probably ruins of a building in this area. Anyway, this is a very important episode because this video was published today, and here we can see that Russians, as a result of offensive operation, at least managed to establish control over the central part, and Russians announced this during their meeting, during their report, and probably a few hours later, pro-Ukrainian sources stated that the Russians were lying. The Ukrainians stated that the Russians were lying, and the Russians don't have control, they don't have strong control over the central part of the city of Pokrovsk, because the central part of the city of Pokrovsk is under complete Ukrainian control. And Ukrainians published this video. So here you can see the beginning of the previous video that was published by the Russian side, and here we can see the moment with two Ukrainian soldiers. So when this video was published, of course, it took probably several seconds before different sources realized that this video was generated by AI. So this video was generated by AI, and there are a few important things and a few funny things that I would like to point to attention. So if you remember during the previous picture, I told you that I pointed your attention to some construction that was a roof of destroyed building. But here we can see that this is the moment, this is the situation. But AI recognized this, let's say, construction, this thing as a car. So that is why in this video, in Ukrainian video, this construction was recognized as AI, and this car was moving. So this car was moving as if there is no clash, there are no clashes in this area, there is no war in this region, and that's everything is regular thing. Another funny things with the Ukrainian video took place here at the top left corner. Here we can see also cars moving through the city of Pokrovsk as the normal life, and hundreds of cars moves in traffic and so on. So very funny, and Ukrainians published this video saying that the city of Pokrovsk under control of the armed forces of the Ukraine, and of course everybody were just laughing at this video, and some Ukrainian sources stated, not the pro-Russian sources or neutral mappers, some very reliable pro-Ukrainian sources that stated that this is not a video, this is the humiliation of the entire armed force of Ukraine as an organization. So let's say maybe very funny situation. Let's see how the things will develop. But the city of Pokrovsk is under complete Russian control. And later another video was published. This time we can see the city of Pokrovsk, the map, and we can see different points and different parts of the city where Russians raise their flags. This is the entrance to the city, probably from the south. This is the central part. So many flags, too many flags were raised through the city of Pokrovsk. Now we have no doubts that this is exactly what happened. So this is the situation. And now let's move to the city of Mirnograd. During the previous 24 hours, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation stated that the southern part of the city was captured by the armed forces of the Russian Federation. We decided not to change the map. We are waiting for proofs, additional proofs. We believe and we think that this is something that happened. So let's wait a bit more. Let's wait, maybe we will adjust during the night and we will discuss this in the morning. So according to the Minister of Defense, this part of the city of Mirnograd is already under complete control of Russia. As for the northern parts, the Russians are saying that there are around 2,000 Ukrainian soldiers. So if you remember, at the beginning of the Mirnograd-Pokrovsk cauldron, the Russians created a cauldron probably months ago. There were 5,000 soldiers, and now the Russians are saying that there are just 2,000 left. So 3,000, some of them were able to escape, some of them haven't managed to escape, and most likely they will stay there forever. And this is the situation in this direction. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Konstantinovka direction. So the commander of the group of forces south stated that Russians established control for more than 30% of the city of Konstantinovka by the end of the 1st of December of 2025. So 30% is a very big number, and this is obviously much bigger territories than you can see right now in front of your screens. So another important thing that I would like to remind you, that during the previous meeting between Putin and commanders of different directions, the commander of the units of the group of forces south stated that by the 15th of December, Russians will capture the biggest part of the city of Konstantinovka. So as of now, just 30% were captured. So we believe that by the 15th of December of 2025, Russians may capture something like this. So everything along this red line, which means that Russians will intensify their offensive operation in this region. As for the Siversk Liman direction, during the previous 24 hours, we haven't received anything special, just regular things. But there was a video published today, probably a minute before I started making the video, so that's why we decided to move this video for morning update. But there was a video where we could see how a Russian soldier was fighting in the southern part of the settlement of Svyatopokrovskaya. So most likely by the morning of the 3rd of December of 2025, we will adjust the map in this area like this way. So this part of Svyatopokrovsk is already under complete control of Russian forces, which means that the city of Siversk fell into complete cauldron. The Kupiansk direction, nothing special. And the Kharkiv direction, the sources stated, the Minister of Defense, the Chief of the General Staff, and several mappers that the city of Volchansk was completely captured by the armed force of the Russian Federation. So, and if you remember, a few days ago we discussed this video when Ukrainians were attacking Russian flags through the city of Volchansk. And if you remember, I told you that most likely the Russians began the preparation of the video when they will show the city of Volchansk with dozens of Russian flags. So that is why the Ukrainians began attacking the flags through the city with the purpose not to allow the Russians to create this video. So as you can see, the Russians announced complete control over the city, but they yet haven't published anything. So maybe they will publish this video in a day or in 2 days. So as of now, we have report that the city was taken, but without a video proof. And that's it for today. Military with Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.